Right. So it is solar eclipse day and I have to make sure that I'm not looking into the sun to burn my eyes. It's too hot, it's like 36 degrees, I'm sweating. I wanted to talk about being a woman in 2026 and the Wizard Liz, because I feel like she was a big part of the women's sphere, the female sphere. She's a big part of that, and obviously the drama that ensued with her and her husband, not husband, boyfriend, baby daddy, whatever. I wanted to talk about this a while ago. I never got round to it, but I feel like now would be the perfect time just because being a woman in 2026, there is no winning. There's no winning. If you're working and you're making your own money, people see you as like some independent boss babe who's like an ultra feminist and like all this stuff. People have a lot of connotations by being a woman who's working in a high-paying field, male-dominated field. I think people make a lot of assumptions about you, like you're some boss babe trying to break the ceiling and all this kind of stuff, when really I'm just doing the job that I know that I'm most qualified for, that will pay me the most money so that I can survive during a time that is extremely bad. Like, we are living in dark times, in my personal opinion. So a lot of people do make assumptions about you if you're a woman who's working in a, I guess what would be considered high power career. I feel like people have an expectation of me as well to go super high up the career ladder. I have no intention on doing that. I'm just trying to make the most money I can make whilst taking absolutely no leadership responsibilities, working as interesting a job as I can work to me, and something that is fulfilling yet also is manageable, is doable, is fair compared to what I'm being compensated for my time. And what I'd ideally like to do in the future is get away from being compensated for my time and just completely sell my work for its value. Maybe this is because of like the millennials. They were really big into feminism and like being a girl boss and social justice, and I would say they're more woke than Gen Z. Gen Z is definitely less woke than millennials, and that's fine. Generations change. I just think as long as we're not encroaching on people's human rights, that's when it goes too far. Things have progressed a lot in a very short amount of time, and so naturally I feel like that's going to change the way people view things. It's been noted that Gen Z is more traditional, is more religious. A lot of people I've noticed are converting to various religions, whether that be Christianity or Islam. I'm not religious, I'm a-religious, but I do read books on Buddhism and Confucianism, just because I feel like it's still good to get an understanding of what other people believe, and I feel like you can still learn things from understanding what other people believe and why they believe them. On the other end of the spectrum, you've got the opposite of the red pill movement, like the pink pill movement, like use men for their money, do whatever you can to get money, like sell your body, sell everything about you, turn yourself into a product. I feel like everything is so sexualized. It's too much. And I feel like men, and not just men, but society puts women into these two categories. Or the third category is they're trying to sell this whole tradwife, trad movement thing, which if you're a real tradwife, you would not be on social media making your own money. You're not a tradwife. And I feel like it's a psyop. I don't know from who, I don't know from where, but I think it's to counteract the overgrowth of feminism. I feel like feminism has its place. I'm not saying I don't benefit from feminism. I'm not saying that feminism isn't needed in other areas of the world. There are women in Afghanistan right now who genuinely wish that they had never been born. I do think feminism still has its place, and I do feel like I benefit from feminism. I would never say I don't, but I do feel like everything in the world right now is feminized and is tailored to the feminine, which on one hand I'm not mad at, because we were suppressed for so long. Even every study that is done is done on a male body first, and I understand it's because women's bodies are delicate and it's easy to put a woman out of balance and to put her body out of equilibrium. I get that, but that doesn't negate the fact that most studies on the human body are done on males, and women are just supposed to use slightly tweaked versions of those numbers. So society itself has been structured on the male body, on male ideas, on male everything. So I'm not mad that things have swung. I feel like we're not good at finding the balance in things. We always swing from one pillar to the other, and so everything was very male-centered, very male-dominated, and now we've swung to the female-centered economy, the female-centered workplace, the female-centered everything. I'm not going to say I'm not enjoying some aspects of it. I will never deny that. I benefit from many things in Western society, and the freedoms that are afforded to me as a woman, I definitely benefit from them. The ones that I think are good anyway. But I do feel like in some areas it's gone too far. I think things should be more balanced, because at the end of the day, 50% of the population is male. Like, I hear what people are saying about matriarchy, and I do agree that it's not the same thing as patriarchy in reverse, and I think it would be good to try perhaps a matriarchy. Like, you look at Rwanda. Rwanda is a very high functioning country, and it has a really big female leadership population, and I think that's a good thing. I think it's a good thing to give people a chance, and if it doesn't work out, then we remove that person and we try something else. We're not going to lose anything that we haven't lost already by putting the correct and most intelligent females, giving them a chance to prove their leadership capabilities. In Rwanda, it's working out quite well for them, and they're one of the few countries in Africa who is thriving. They have a very well-functioning society. It's clean, there's civil cohesion, and I feel like we've had good female leaders, like the Queen of England. Also, Margaret Thatcher. I wasn't alive for her stint, but I heard she was the Iron Lady. She did a good job. So many female inventions that have never been accredited to women, all of the accomplishments that women did that were never highlighted, and we weren't allowed to go to school. I remember when I was growing up, I remember Malala was a big thing because she was so passionate about education that she got shot in the head. Like, I don't get why it's a weird thing for women to want autonomy. I get it, the birth rate, and you need women to become mothers, and if women don't become mothers, there is no future, there is no new children, there is no new people. But I feel like when a woman wants to be a mother and she does it because she wants to, and she does it because she genuinely loves this and it's something that she's choosing, you would genuinely get the best mothers from that outcome, and you'd get the most engaged mothers from that outcome, rather than trying to force people who don't necessarily want to do something into doing something. That just breeds resentment, in my personal opinion. You're just going to create broken homes, and you're going to create children who feel unwanted, and that will create its own host of psychological issues and problems in society. All the roles that society tries to pigeon females into. I feel like I'm not trying to do any of these things, so it's very hard for me to navigate society. I'm kind of just doing my own thing, because I don't feel like I need to be a mother or a wife. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, and I'm not saying that I could never do it. For the right man, I could do it because I'd feel supported in my role being a mother, and I would actually be willing to step back from my career to do this. I'm happy to support the family for the right man, but I just feel like so many men are ungrateful, they have a lot of hatred towards women, and they're very fruity these days. So I'm not going to give up a good thing that I've got going on, a great career. I'm not trying to go to the top. I'm content where I'm at, actually. I'm doing well. But I'm not going to give up an independent, autonomous lifestyle where I have great friends, I have a good relationship with my family, I'm making good money, I have a good quality of life. I'm not going to give that up for somebody who's ungrateful and doesn't treat me well, and who, frankly, I'm not attracted to. There are attractive men out there, I've seen them. I do get asked out regularly in person, I don't use dating apps. And I work in a male-dominated field, so I work with great men all the time. I'm not a man hater. I actually quite like men. Me and my dad are also close. We have a good relationship. We always have. And so I have nothing against men. I actually quite like them. I actually was out with a friend yesterday. He was a man. But like, I have a lot of good interactions with men. Like, the best men I know, honestly, I feel like I am privileged enough to know a lot of really great men. And I can admit that. And also, I do think about the fact that, like, you walk past men every day. Like, they're not these scary creatures. Most men don't attack you. Think about how many men you walk past every day who don't even bat an eyelid at you. Or, like, at worst, like, the majority of the time, the interactions I have with men outside of work are pretty benign. Even when I'm being asked out, I feel like a lot of them are pretty respectful. Of course, there are bad instances. Like, I've been followed home, I've said no, and somebody wouldn't take no for an answer. These things do happen. I'm not going to pretend like they don't happen. They absolutely do. But I feel like I've had more benign, arbitrary interactions with men and good interactions with men than I do bad ones. But make note, absolutely, I am aware of the dangers, and I'm aware of the statistics, the crime statistics that relate to men. I know that men commit most crimes. Yes, tracking of crimes is a bit wishy-washy when it comes to women. I do feel like women get away with a lot of crimes, and I feel like while society has been strict on women in the past, now that we live in a very feminine society, we've become too lenient on women. We need modern rules for modern problems. That's the point of lawyers, isn't it? To like change the laws, to modernize them to fit to the new landscape. And I feel like we do need to update our laws so that we're not being too lenient on women and we're not being too harsh on men. In fact, I'm happy that we're being harsh on men. I think it's important to keep them in line because they are bigger than us, they are stronger than us, they have, you know, more capability physically than us. And yes, I know there are outliers of women being bigger than men, women who can fight, and women who can take down men who are much bigger than they are. I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu as well. I understand you can use your weight against an opponent. But I do think in general we need to keep things fair, or as fair as we can, and maybe some laws should be gendered. Like, there are some laws that specifically should be focused on men and should specifically be focused on women. For example, paternity fraud and divorce laws. I do feel like it's actually quite fair that every man is entitled to a paternity test upon birth. If we make it a flat law where this is just something that's standard that happens, and if a child isn't the father's child who the woman is claiming it is, then that man should get the choice whether he wants to be in that child's life or not. I feel like it's a very unique type of crime that only a female obviously can commit, so there should be laws around that, and I think it's fair that every man knows if they are actually the father of a child, and it shouldn't be this offensive thing like, oh, you're asking me to get a paternity test, you don't believe it's mine. If we just make it a flat thing that is done to every child, yes, this is your child. It should just be done like that, and that way men who don't want to be involved in children's lives, they know that's their child and they pay accordingly. Nobody's being tricked into thinking that a child is theirs and then 18 years later they're finding out they're not the biological father. Also, divorce laws, I don't mean this in the sense that we should go back to no-fault divorce. I think you should be able to divorce someone for any reason you want. And I know a lot of people are going to push back on me like, no-fault divorce, that's what's led to the high rate. No, people marrying people they were never in love with or never liked because society forced them to get married, it was the reason for the high divorce rate. People should have never been together, and now people finally have the option to be with someone they actually want. I think no-fault divorce should still stand. However, you shouldn't be incentivized to divorce somebody. I feel like a lot of men do use women for their looks and youth and beauty, and a lot of women do use men for their money. Maybe we need to regulate that so that nobody's getting taken advantage of and nobody feels hard done. So let's say no hard feelings, you want to divorce somebody, no-fault divorce. Maybe you should only be able to get a large sum of money if you have helped develop this business, you have helped by looking after the kids, because that's unpaid labour. Women should be compensated for unpaid labour. That's why nobody's having kids, because a lot of women feel hard done by. And only then should you be given something. But if you're just with somebody and it's a complete scam, and the entire marriage was a sham, and you've been cheating on them the whole time, you should not get 50% of their stuff. I think we should not be rewarding people for bad behaviour. There should be cheating clauses, there should be abuse clauses, there should be all these things, so that marriage and divorce is not a joke. People think more and take it more seriously going into it. So now, all of this makes dating difficult, but do you know what? Mildly attractive young women, I'm not lacking in options, it's just that there's a lot to consider in this new modern dating era. Like, I'm really not going to get married so I can be a single married woman. The relationship dynamic needs some give and take. If I'm gonna give up my career, you are gonna have to do the things that I like. I'm not going to marry someone to go down in my standard of living, and I don't care how anybody feels about that. This isn't a sprinkle type thing where I'm going to marry someone I don't love for money and, you know, do all these things. I just can't do it personally. I just can't do it. But if I'm working a full-time job and you're working a full-time job, you are not going to shirk on the household chores. I'm sorry. We are going to split everything 50-50 if that's the case. But if you want me to give up my career, to be a stay-at-home wife, to be a stay-at-home mother, to homeschool, do all this stuff, you are gonna have to support the entire family. I'm not gonna work because I'm already working a full-time job supporting this whole entire family, being a planner, being a babysitter. You're wearing so many hats as chef. Yes, you are going to have to pay for the holidays I go on with my friends. You're gonna have to pay for my maintenance. Like, I'm not just a robot that lives life only to look after the house, look after the kids. I do need to see my friends, I do need to see my family, I do need to have some me time. So I think people saying that women expecting to be kept are somehow trying to finesse men. You're the ones who want traditional relationships. You also have to fulfill your traditional end of the relationship. And I think that's the only way things are going to work. People need to compromise, and people need to have proper communication and discussions on the outcomes and what they want out of a relationship. And I think that's the only way things are going to work moving forward in modern relationships. There is going to have to be compromise, and it should come from both sides. It can't just be one-sided, like, you're going to do all this and I'm going to do this. Because the way some men act, they act like they're doing you a favour by working and supporting their family. You're not doing me a favour by doing that, because you would have to do that anyway. You're a man. No matter what you do, you're going to have to work regardless. It's women who get the option, unfortunately, and that's just what it is. So you can't complain about doing something that you would have to do anyway, and then you want me to destroy my body and put possibly my mental health through postpartum depression and postpartum psychosis and all these other things, to give you a legacy, to give you children, to continue your bloodline. But I'm not supposed to have any days off, I'm not supposed to have friends, I'm not supposed to go out, I'm not supposed to take care of myself as a human. But you can buy yourself whatever you want, an Xbox, all kinds of things. And that's okay because you're out working. I could also be out working. And this is what I mean about give and take. Like, in modern day, relationships aren't working because people aren't willing to compromise and people don't know how to communicate. And I feel like the relationships that do work and the marriages that do work will be these ones where people are willing to see things from all sides and work together and truly build together. And everything else will be transactional. That's why we see all this look smack saying, that's why we see all of these insane movements, the sprinkle, the gold diggers, the passport bros, all this stuff. Everything else, every other relationship will be transactional. I think, ironically, the relationships that happen in this era will either be transactional or they will truly be loved, like truly loving someone for who they are. And I do believe that the way someone looks is who they are. You're born with features that look like your family. That is who you are. That's your lineage. And it's okay to include the way that someone looks as part of who they are. Someone truly loving the way you look, finding you attractive, and you feel that same way about them, and you truly liking who they are as a person and really appreciating them and seeing those things that they don't show to other people. I truly feel like relationships going forward will be either completely transactional, or they will truly be you loving someone for who they are. And that brings us finally, I know I've been rambling a lot, to the Wizard Liz and her whole thing with Landon, her husband, not husband, boyfriend, baby daddy. I feel like her relationship and everything that happened is a true warning and a true lesson for all of us who are not in relationships, who don't have kids, whether you're a man or a woman. I think there's something that you can learn from this situation. It's like these transactional relationships, they end up hurting everybody. They just aren't good. And I know people say, oh, relationships were always transactional, people never loved each other. Yeah, rich aristocrats, they would have marriages to gain something, but peasants always did love marriages because you were both poor anyway. So I think as we go forward in life, we've got to keep that in mind, that some of us are peasants and we're going to marry for love, and we should marry for true love, and some of us are going to marry for transactional reasons, and there'll be a large swathe of people in between who don't get to experience any love or anything. There'll be a whole swathe of people who never have a first kiss, who never date, who never have a boyfriend, who never have a girlfriend, who never get married, who never have kids. I think we'll see more of that than ever, and I think that's okay. I don't think we need to force people to exist. I think that's how we got to 8 billion people in the first place, by forcing people to exist. So I think it's okay if people choose. Well, some of them aren't choosing, that's the sad part, but I do feel like the whole Wizard Liz situation is a reminder that all this sprinkle, this treat me and pay for everything and all this, these relationships, there's something wrong with them. There is something fundamentally wrong with them. And the passport bros, I feel like they don't realize that they are also a part of this ecosystem, because they think by going to a foreign country, marrying someone struggling and all this stuff, they're going to get somebody who's obedient and always willing to do what they want. But in reality, these people are on social media as well. They know what's happening, and there are bad things happening to these men who are going to these countries. Like, there are women who are drugging these men with scolopamine and robbing them. They're getting gangs of men, they're honeypotting them and getting these men set up. There's a lot of crazy things happening, like people with infectious diseases that can't be gotten rid of, and they're not telling people. Just a lot of crazy stuff. So it's just something to consider. Right, so I'm going to end the video there because the solar eclipse is upon me and I don't want to be blind, so I'm going to get out of here. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll catch you in another video. Bye.